Thanks for joining us today. I'm Kim Walgren. I'm the editor of Wood Floor Business Magazine. And before I turn it over to our two experts today, just a couple housekeeping things. If you have questions during the demo, you can enter them in the questions panel you see on the right, and we will answer those at the end of the presentation. And then also at the end of this presentation, it is being recorded, and when that's ready, we will be emailing everyone that recording also, so you can refer back to it or you can share it with other people who might be interested. So with that, let me introduce from Bostik, we have Jake Stadler. Jake is the market manager from Bostik, and James Sharp. And James is a technical sales service rep for Bostik. So I will turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, Kim. Yep, so my name is Jake Stadler. I'm the Hardwood market manager for Hardwood installation systems at Bostik. Today what we're going to talk about is hardwood flooring and sound abatement. So there's a continued trend of replacing carpet and padding with hardwood flooring and other hard surfaces in residential buildings. And you couple that with increased demands for the acoustical quality of life, right? Nobody wants to hear their neighbors upstairs or below them or next to them. So there's more innovative products that are available now to meet today's stringent, multifaceted codes that are required for sound abatement with residential and multifamily housing. So with that, why is sound control important? Today's high-end residential consumer expects a living environment that is basically, almost noise-free, right? They don't want to hear their neighbor upstairs jumping around, dropping bowling balls, walking around in high heels. I mentioned that there's a trend of replacing somewhat softer floor coverings, for example, carpet padding or carpet and padding that acted as a natural sound barrier and replacing that with hardwood flooring. So, hardwood flooring doesn't really absorb sound as well as carpet does. It actually kind of transmits it a little bit better. So in order to deliver on sound abatement qualities or specifications, different products are needed to hit sound abatement requirements and get the level of sound to where it needs to be for the quality of life for your tenants. So when we talk about sound abatement measurements, and you're looking at, there's basically two different things that are available, two different measurements and sources of sound, rather. So one is IIC. IIC stands for Impact Insulation Class. And what this is impact, or things that are hitting the floor that are affecting the sound. So this is your neighbor upstairs in high heels, somebody bouncing a basketball. And then the second component or part of sound abatement measurements is sound transmission class, or STC. And this is things that measure airborne sounds such as music, voices, or any type of sound wave noise. So when you see IIC and STC ratings, those are the two that you generally need to keep in mind. IIC is generally improved by an underlayment, so you can increase your sound dampening by having an underlayment underneath. STC is really only improved by the mass of the floor, so what the mass of the floor is. So your substrate, your underlayment, adhesive, and the thickness of the flooring in general kind of all dampen the sound. So when we look at residential building codes and sound abatement performance, generally most codes for residential dwelling units are about 50 decibels for IIC and 50 decibels for STC. And those units, or that rating, is generally for a lab test. And these can differ by state, country, city, even are specified by different builders and architects. So in addition to the coding, acoustical quality is expected by residents that are in high-end multifamily residences. So usually, if you want to get top dollar for your multifamily housing, you'll get a top performing specification for your IIC and STC performance. With this, I'll pass it over to James.
Hi guys, my name is James Sharp. I'm a technical service rep at Bostik. And I'm going to talk a little bit about sound abatement. Pardon me?
I think you're breaking up a little bit, James. I can hear you now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, now the world we live in today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the sound abatement materials. You've got the matting materials like the cork mats, or you've got the recycled rubber mats that you roll out. These products need to be installed with adhesive, and there's extra labor charges, material charges to install these. Same thing with the foam. The foam materials got to be glued down. Some of the foam materials and the rubber materials can be loose laid, but most of the time they're glued down so they don't get bunched up. There's trowelable underlayments too. We have a product called MVP that is a trowelable product, works pretty good, but this especially multi-function adhesive, or as we call them, all-in-ones, they do a much better job. Go ahead. Installation of them, I've already talked about the cork, the rubber, and the foam underlayments. Again, they need to be rolled out. They need to be glued down. They need to be glued down most of the time, especially in the rubber, with specialty adhesives to keep the rubber from growing. So there are some extra steps and extra concerns when you have rubber materials and other materials that need to be installed. And then again, you have the cost of the installation of the material and the material, where once you don't. There we go. So we're going to talk a little bit about the specialty multifunction adhesives, or as I said, the all-in-ones. There's no underlayments needed. It's a one-step process. Okay. There's no labor charge for all of the cork, the rubber, and etc. It's also thinner than using the cork or other systems. It's lower in height. It doesn't affect your cabinets, and it saves a ton of money off the installation, and also saves a lot of time. Go ahead. So we get into the all-in-one adhesives, the ratings. As Jake was talking earlier, the 50 dBs for the IIC and the STC. If you look over to the right with our SoundGuard system, our IIC rating on our product is 70 dBs, and STC is a 68. So we are way above what the minimum requirements are for, at least this building code.
And so here's a look kind of, we talk about sound abatement for adhesives and multi-step products, really kind of going through the line. If you think about adhesives in general, you have products that are for bond only, and then all the way up to, as Jay mentioned, all-in-ones or one-steps. And there's kind of some products that fall in between that maybe don't have unlimited moisture vapor resistance, but still offer some sound reduction qualities. This is a look at a quick snapshot from our Hardwood reference guide on our Bostik catalog, or even online. We have a multitude of products that kind of hit different ratings and different performance qualities for adhesives. And all of these ratings that we get, I should mention, were third-party tested. So there's some ratings that you'll see with different manufacturers, whether it's adhesives or underlayments, that you want to make sure that you're wary of, and make sure that they're third-party tested, because otherwise it could be kind of a marketing spin to it to get whoever has the highest number wins. So we did third-party testing, and as a testimonial to our sound performance, we got quotes from a consultant that did our testing for us. And, some of these things that he said were, when asked if he could hear an improvement with the sound reduction of Bostik adhesives, he said there's definitely an improvement. There's the data to back that up. What's the benefit to architects and designers who are having sound dampening adhesives? The consultant said you can increase the performance of assembly. Assembly is, the substrate all the way through to the floor, and then even in some cases counting the ceiling. You can increase the performance of the assembly without having to increase the thickness of the assembly. So James mentioned it, I believe, before that. If you have a rubber or cork underlayment, that's going to be material that you need to put down an adhesive for, put the mat on top of, put more adhesive down, and then put your floor covering. So you're adding the thickness of your assembly or thickness of your floor covering with all those steps, and simply having an adhesive saves on that increase of thickness. So even a few points of improvement is worthwhile. And he said, in his mind, even a slight advantage is the way to go. And that was our acoustic consultant that we partnered with for third-party testing. So Flooring systems, as I mentioned, all numbers should be substantiated with independent testing. So if you see a data sheet on an all-in-one adhesive or an adhesive that claims sound testing, you want to make sure that it's not the manufacturer that's providing those numbers, but rather it's a third-party test. Because, as I mentioned, it's a numbers game, right? Whoever has the higher number is going to be obviously perceived as better. So if I have two products that are the same price and one has a higher number, I'm probably going to go with the higher one. So you want to make sure that you're validating that. So what else we got here? We'll go through some different factors that are affecting acoustics between the floors. I'll pass it off to James for that to discuss that.
Yeah, it's got some factors here that affect the acoustic. The thickness of the slab is very important. Most of them have, and are they concrete or are they gypsum? Gypsum-based products or even the lightweight concrete. The heavier, denser they are, the better they're going to do. That's why when you see these testings, they do different sound ratings based on the different slab and the way they go. They also base it on the ceiling. You know, is it a drop ceiling or is it a regular ceiling that's a lot taller? Because that's going to allow more echoing to come through. The thickness and the type of flooring and underlayments you put down is very important too, because that, again, it's not a lot, but it will change the sound deadening of it being closer to the ceiling. And then how it's installed, again, like using all-in-one, you know, that has sound deadening built into it. You see some common mistakes out there, of course, nailing through the acoustics. That cuts down on the dB rating, okay? The isolate the floor from the adjacent walls, so in other words, you have some gapping and stuff in there, that can cause some echoing and just a little bit of echoing, especially in the walls. Then thickness could be a problem. You see it really bad whenever you have refrigerators, because they make the cabinets on the fridge above the refrigerator really low. It doesn't take a lot to make it where a refrigerator or a dishwasher or something like that will not fit under the cabinet.
And so here's a look at what we call, you know, a flooring assembly. So the full system from your concrete slab, different layers of products that you can put underneath it. Really the two that we're talking about today are the sound abatement, which is step 5 there. That would be your underlayment or patch. That would be kind of like James said, your trowelable underlayment like an MVP4. And then the item that's on number 6 here is really your hardwood flooring adhesive. So if you have an all-in-one solution, you can kind of skip that step 5. That would be your underlayment, trowelable underlayment. Or if you have a bond-only adhesive that are generally more cost-effective, you would need some sort of underlayment, whether that's a matte or rubber or trowelable underlayment there. One thing that we want to touch on is Bostik has 2 products specifically that are proprietary to Bostik. We have thickness control spacer technology. What this is it's recycled crumb rubber spacers that help maintain proper membrane thickness. So if you think about this, we're trying to make the installation as easy as possible. And if you don't have this technology in your adhesive, you run the risk of compressing the hardwood floor and crushing that membrane thickness, and that adhesive underneath your floor covering can dissipate out to the sides, and then you're not maintaining your membrane thickness, which means you're not getting your sound rating that it's qualified for. So it's less thickness of the adhesive for that sound to either reverberate through if it's sound waves, or if it's an impact such as a basketball or somebody drops something, that thickness then is not being maintained. So you could run into issues where you were specified for a certain number, and because you didn't maintain your proper membrane thickness, that your actual rating actually drops, and then you get complaints from the tenant. So again, this is technology that's proprietary to Bostik. It holds the membrane thickness so you can actually walk on top of the work while you're installing and not have to worry about that glue dissipating out the sides, because the spacers there are actually keeping that thickness for you. So you'll see for our product line, generally the technology or the products with this technology will have the higher rating. So the 2 that we have are truly all-in-one solutions. We have UltraSet Single Step 2, which is a modified siling polymer adhesive that's easy to clean, easy to trowel. And then we have Vapor Lock, which is a urethane technology that's kind of tried and true, great strength on the urethanes. So 2 different products that have that crumb rubber technology, that thickness control spacers, that allow you to essentially guarantee your membrane thickness. So on these 2, we'll kind of go through one at a time. UltraSet Single Step 2, I mentioned, is an MS polymer technology with Axios tri-linking. So I'm a marketing guy, so going from a chemistry standpoint, I was told to look at these like if you have a normal polymer, what they look like is, imagine like toothpicks, a pile of toothpicks, and picking those up, and each toothpick can kind of slip through your fingers versus like a tri-linking like tack, like the or a jack rather, like the game where you drop the ball and pick up the jacks. If you have a group of those together, because there's 3 sides of them, they stick together better, and so you get better performance from a moisture standpoint, from bond, and certainly from sound. So when you see Axios tri-linking, that's going to be the premium performing adhesive on the market. It has unlimited moisture vapor protection, so you don't need to test for moisture vapor when you're installing with this product. It also has our top sound rating, so 70 IIC and 67 STC, because again of those thickness control spacers that guarantee that membrane thickness. I mentioned that this is easy to clean before and after cure. So if you have, because it's an MS technology, you can actually just use a plastic scraper. If it cures on your pre-finished floor, scrape it off and then buff it with like a microfiber rag, and it doesn't leave any residue, and it doesn't etch the surface, which if you have a polyurethane, it certainly could do that. So one thing that I forgot to mention is with the ratings that it has for sound, the 70 and 67, this is right on par with replacing your 1/4 inch cork or your, I believe it's 5mm or 2mm rubber mats that are used for underlayment. So this is one of the top performing from a performance standpoint adhesives that is on the market today. And with that, we have a short demo on the video to share. So I will load that up.
So I'm Doug Lindeman with Bostik, and today we're going to show you Ultraset Single Step 2. This is one of our hardwood flooring adhesives. It's got a crumb rubber in it that gives us control spacing and sound control for hardwood flooring applications.
That's incredible.
So you can see the crumb rubber in the product. So what that's doing for us, like I said, is it's giving us a sound control and it's giving us a spacer thickness. So in most cases, when you're installing your flooring, if you don't have that thickness control, there's no guarantee that we know we have a full membrane underneath to block moisture and that full membrane for sound. I'm going to use this saran wrap here to kind of show you so you can see what's going on under the floor when we put it in. So with the standard adhesive, if we put our flooring in and we put a lot of weight on it or put it more in one area than the other, we can squeeze that adhesive out. But as you can see with the Ultraset Single Step 2, that crumb rubber technology is guaranteeing that when I put the wood flooring in, no matter how much pressure I put down on it, we're always going to get that full membrane coverage underneath it. You can kind of see with the clear acrylic block what's going on underneath there. You can see full coverage no matter if I put it in the corners, put pressure in certain areas, I'm not going to squeeze that adhesive out. Comes into play, like I said, guarantees we've got full membrane under our wood flooring for our moisture vapor control, sound control membrane, also for installation. A lot of installers like to work on the finished floor as they're doing the installation. The crumb rubber technology lets us be on the floor, pulling the tongue and groove back towards us when we're installing versus having to be pushed away from it. It's a little ergonomically easier for an installer to pull it towards them than push it away. Also helps on a job site rather than having to wait to walk on the floor till the next day. We can get right on it right away. We won't squeeze the adhesive out. We can install our baseboards, our quarter round. We can even start to move some of the lighter furniture back in the same day rather than having to wait a day before we come back to do all of those extra things as part of the job. So another one of the great benefits about Ultraset Single Step 2 is it's really easy to clean off if you should get some on your finished wood surface. This is a dry rag. You can just a couple of wipes, get everything cleaned right off. So again, Ultraset Single Step 2 gives us unlimited moisture vapor control, gives us the same sound control, sound rating as 1/4 inch cork or rubber, as well as adhesive, all in one single product.
All right. So the next one that we're going to talk about here is very similar to Ultraset Single Step 2. It's Vapor Lock. This is a urethane technology. So instead of the easy clean before and after cure, it's going to be, you would need a some sort of mineral spirits or an ultimate adhesive remover to remove it. You run the risk of etching your pre-finished floor if you get it on top of the flooring there. So this is kind of, but polyurethane technology has been around a long time. A lot of people love this product. It's huge on the West Coast for us. And so this is something that's tried and true, and again, has that crumb rubber technology that you get these sound abatement qualities for. James, you want to talk about Green Force?
Sure. Sure can. Did you change it yet? Can you hear me? All right, there we go. Green Force. Green Force is the little sister of the Ultra Single Steps 2. It's the Axios silane technology, the tri-linking technology, unlimited vapor emission. It's great for bamboo engineered floors, has that lifetime bond warranty. It has sound abatement. It meets the above the minimum standards, but not quite what the crumb rubber does. The crumb rubber does a very special job when it comes to sound abatement. This is very clean, great green grab. No odor to it. It's got the blockade antimicrobial into it. It's one of our staples in our line. It's one of our better sellers.
Yep. So those of you that are familiar with this product or have used this one and the next one that I'm going to talk about, that sound abatement quality is new. So we did get this third-party tested for sound, and as James mentioned, it doesn't meet the standard that Vapor Lock and Ultraset Single Step 2 do. But you'll see that now the TDS has been updated. We're working on running through the labels that have that updated call out for sound abatement qualities. And then the next one that we did was Pro MSP. So again, you're kind of hitting, as we go through this line, you have the premium performers all the way down to basically this is a 15-pound moisture vapor limit with, again, a little bit lower sound performance than Ultraset Single Step 2 has. Looks like we don't have it. Oh, it's on the bottom there. 64 and 61 compared to what some of the other ones were for IIC and STC rating. But again, this is an MS technology, so you're not getting the unlimited moisture vapor that you are with the Green Force and other tri-linking polymers, but this is the easy to spread, easy to clean before and after cure for moderate moisture vapor warranty and still above the sound ratings. And then I'll go through MVP4. James, you mentioned this one up front. You want to talk about this one a little bit more?
Say that.
Oh, looks like you were freezing a little bit. So I'll just take this one. So this one is
again.
MVP4. Yep. I think we're
MVP4 is a staple. It's been around by Bostik a long time. It's it and you'll see on that, I believe, the next page where we talk about the Bostik VP very well together. MVP4 equals a 1/4 inch cork, anti-fragment. Nice thing, if you missed a spot to the least. Pardon me?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Am I okay? Yeah, I was talking about the visual inspection of it. Is you able to see your work for the moisture protection before you put the wood down on it? So you get that. What I tell guys is you sleep better at night whenever you know that's down, and then whenever you put the Bostik's Best on top of it, That's always been a bulletproof system for us. It does require more work, more cost because you're putting an extra layer down, but it's one of our oldest systems. Is the Bostik's best with MVP, and you can see the sound deadening ratings it gets. It still meets the minimum standards. It does what it's supposed to do, and this is an old system. Bostik's best MVP4. There's guys out there that just love this system, and then there's the guys who love the all-in-ones.
Yep. So that's kind of the lineup of what Bostik has when it comes to adhesives and trowel underlayments for adhesives. We do have another demo here, another video that we're going to show that kind of just talks about and ties everything together. That really, when you have an all-in-one system of having, you know, a moisture vapor system, an adhesive system, and a sound abatement system, just the real time, labor, and cost savings that you get from those systems versus your traditional underlayments that you would install.
For more information on this and many other Bostik solutions, please visit our website or call your Bostik representative.
All right, so that, you know, obviously things can change from a raw material standpoint and labor costs and things like that from when a point in time from a video is made. But basically, the thought behind that video is to show this extreme cost savings that you can get from using a multifunction adhesive versus multiple stages of the underlayment. So you have to think that you need an adhesive, you need the underlayment, and when you're pulling that underlayment up, you have to, it's not small. It's not like you're carrying up a bucket of adhesive. You've got rolls of underlayment that, depending on the size of the job, those are going up the freight elevators. You're taking multiple trips versus just hauling in a bucket with you. You then have to wait for that adhesive to cure, and then you go back on top of that underlayment with more adhesive, and then finally your floor covering. So as the video showed, there's a lot of labor, time, cost, materials that can be saved, and there's when you have specifications or projects or jobs that require sound abatement, just keep in mind adhesives and what they can do from having a multifunction adhesive standpoint, and really adding value. Value engineering is what we call it to your job. Where can you take cost out? Where can you help out? Those sort of things. So,
hey, Jake, a comment on that too, on the rubber side where he was doing it. The difference between using that and like Ultra Steel Step 2 is he was working actually on the wood on the rubber side. And most adhesives you use with rubber, you would not be working on the wood. You'd have to be working. So it would actually take him longer in the real world.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a number of situations where our Bostik reps were able to work with contractors and installers and specifiers to help save costs on the job. I mean, we had a very large hotel out in Utah that we were able to save, I think, close to $300,000 of cost based on the sound abatement requirements by using single step 2. So, in conclusion, we just want to provide sound abatement adhesives and underlayments to the flooring system that help achieve, occupant satisfaction first and foremost. Nobody wants to get called back after they've been, thought that they've met a specification and they have, a high rise or a multifamily housing that is requiring a premium, and then all of a sudden your tenants are complaining that they can hear, the guy downstairs brushing his teeth or the person next to them listening to their music. So occupant satisfaction is first and foremost. Then, we want to meet these code requirements. And then, here at Bostik, we want to be a solution provider. So how can we provide solutions that make the installation easier, save time, save money, save labor, certainly. So there's a lot of different products that are available today. Combining all of those products into one multifunction adhesive is really a great value engineering way to go. So if you have any other questions or concerns, first and foremost, we want to send you to Bostik Academy. This is our multifaceted training platform. James, I'll let you speak a little bit about it, but this is where you can go to get in-person training at any of our facilities across the nation. We have webinars that are saved there, content that's available 24/7. James, being a technical person, is very close with the training, so I'll let you speak to it, James.
Yeah, we've got 4 locations in the United States: Temecula, California; Dallas, Texas; Wauwatosa, Wisconsin; and then Grove Road in Paulsboro, New Jersey, that we are open with now, doing trainings there on a week. So just reach out to our technical. We have online training also, and we have a lot of online stuff coming on next year that will help you out if you can't get to one of the trainings. But just contact your local academy and we'll get with you and let you know when the class is. And watch our Bostik Academy website. On Bostik's website, there's an academy there that shows the classes available, classes coming up, and you can sign in there.
So that concludes our presentation on hardwood adhesives and sound abatement requirements. Kim, are there any questions from audience members that we can address?
So Jake, one question is, there are so many different types of construction, so many different scenarios. Like, what are some of the most common codes that an installer would run into that they have to meet when they have a wood flooring project?
Sure, I'll take this one, and James, if you want to add on, please feel free to do so. So, generally what we see is that there's the International Building Code, the IBC, that has generally a standard of 50 decibels for both IIC, so your impact insulation class, and STC, or your sound transmission. So that's the the international code. You might see it drops down to 45 for each IIC and STC, and that's if there's a field test, right? So if you're looking at a data sheet for a product and you get the actual third party, again, I can't stress that enough, third party testing results for sound. If the testing was done in a lab, it needs to be 50 decibels. And if it was done in a field test, meaning on the job site, where conditions can be a little bit different, that would be the requirement is 45 for IIC and STC. And really kind of how you'd want to think about this, when it comes to the lab testing is I always think of it's like, cars, right? Ford, when they come up with the car, they have their EPA estimated miles per gallon. Well, that's in a lab or that's in a perfect setting, and it all depends on the road conditions, where you're going, how you drive the car. Each person driving it will get a different miles per gallon. So the conditions are changing and going to affect that. So the same with your sound rating. So the lab is a perfect setting. Probably your field trials are going to be closer to what you want to have there. James, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, you did a good. Yeah, the field is going to be more difficult because of the changing and what's there, what we're working with compared to a lab. So
yeah, I think we did say too. So international.
No, you did a good job.
The International Building Code is 50 for a lab test, but you'll have different specifications according to the country, the city, the state, the architect, and the municipality, basically. So you kind of want to check with your local regulations, I would recommend.
Jake, another question.
We just had a high rise in Dallas that had some of the highest stringent stuff possible, and it was really tough. They were asking for a 69.
Yep, that's up there. Is there another one?
You mentioned earlier that you have to be really careful that a lot of companies have different claims for their products. Is the third-party testing really what you need to know as far as being confident about what you're using? You can imagine it could be a real mess if you use something and it turns out not to be as effective as you thought, and now the floor's installed, and now what happens?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. You could run into a lot of trouble there. So that's why we stress up front, just avoid it in general. Make sure that you have third-party testing, whether that's in a lab or a field trial from third party, because otherwise it could turn into a marketing spin numbers game, and somebody's got 66 and somebody has 67 and somebody has 70 and somebody all of a sudden you're getting up to 84, which is, I don't know what the top one I've ever seen is, but some of these are not realistic numbers that if you're expecting to get 84 decibel rating, and then all of a sudden everybody's moved in, they've got their tenants, and you can hear your neighbor downstairs, you're getting complaints, and you could go back in and do another field trial and see, oh no, we only got 45 or 44, and now we're under the standard that was set, or whatever the specification was for the building. It's, James and I always stress, we can't stress enough that you want to make sure you have third-party testing, and that goes for a lot of other stuff. Otherwise, you're kind of at the mercy of the marketing department for the manufacturer. And I say that as a marketing guy.
When something's installed, how do you accurately measure what the sound abatement performance was? Are there specific consultants who come in and do that?
Yeah, yep. There are sound or acoustical consultants, I believe is what they're called. There's a number of them across the U.S. We partnered with one in the United States just because there's so many partnered with one in New York because there's a lot of codes and regulations around multifamily housing in New York, and certainly standards to meet there. So they have all different kinds of equipment that they use for both their lab testing and field trials, that heavy duty microphones and machines that basically replicate an impact of a sound, or it's got basically a hammer on it that would impact the floor, and then below it you would measure the sound. So highly tuned machinery that they have that I believe costs a lot of money. I haven't looked into it myself, but again, that's part of what you want to have a third-party test versus somebody with just an iPhone measuring sound and doing it that way and putting it on a data sheet. So it's that's what I would recommend is get a third-party acoustical consultant if you're questioning or want to verify your sound rating for your building or your flooring assembly.
Always better to ask the expert, right?
Yes, 100%.
there were, you had a slide with some common mistakes. Are there any other mistakes that come to mind, or like misconceptions that wood flooring installers have about sound abatement?
I would, so I guess to recap that slide, and James, I'll talk about it, feel free to jump in too, is that, a common thing I've heard of this a lot is just the nailing through. If you're doing a nailing installation with hardwood floor and nailing through the underlayment, because then you think of how sound works or how an impact works. If somebody in tap shoes is on the floor above you and they're tapping on the hardwood floor, well, that floor is fastened mechanically by that staple or that nail, and that sound or that impact is just going to vibrate through all the way to the subfloor, and you'll be able to notice it significantly in the floor underneath you. And so that heavily affects the underlayment and its ability to dampen the sound. We always recommend, we're the glue people, so we'd recommend adhesive, because I feel like there's still a little bit more insulation around that nail with an adhesive even than there is with rubber or cork. But James, is there any other things that you want to mention about that?
No, yeah, you hit that right on, and that's true. I mean, when you put the nail through it and it penetrates, the actually nail is going to transmit past any of the sound deadening that you have, and when you have that many nails or staples in there, it causes problems and cut down where you will not meet your minimum requirements. In a situation like that with concrete where you're doing in a high rise, that's where ultra set single step 2 very beneficial.
Yep, and that it comes down to your thickness of the membrane too. So again, we've mentioned it a couple times that thickness control spacer that single step 2 have and vapor lock have. If you have a new guy that's never troweled down glue before and he's holding it at the wrong angle or not doing it right, we see some of that today in today's labor market. You're not guaranteeing your membrane thickness if you're not using a product like Ultraset Single Step 2 or Vapor Lock. It's kind of, I always joke inside, it's almost new guy proof, right? You have a new guy on the floor and you're troweling it down. Well, it's got the crumb rubber on it that allows you to maintain that membrane thickness. That is what we're testing it and what that rating is for. So if you have somebody's flat troweling it and they don't have crumb rubber and that floor is going directly to the substrate, that again, you're getting all the vibrations and all the sound from the hardwood floor. There's nothing buffering it in between. It's going right to the subfloor, and you'll hear that, and that'll affect your sound rating performance. So,
right.
I would add that as a common mistake is not maintaining membrane thickness specified for your adhesive.
Yeah, and it helps to collapse those ridges really good too. If you get the hollow spots into the floor and you don't get the ridges clap, make a sheet of it, that will mess up the sound deadening also.
Thanks, guys. So
thank you.
If I'm a wood flooring installer and I haven't done sound abatement jobs before and I get one, obviously there are a lot of options in the market available to me. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, do I need to call a sound abatement engineer? Do I just call you guys? What is my best option to really figure out what the right products are for that specific job?
You want to take that one, James?
Yeah. No, we can, and our technical department can help you. We can talk about our products and how to use them. And how to be successful with them. We can even come in or have one of our reps are very knowledgeable in this, and they can help too. They can actually come to the how you collapse the ridges. We can teach that stuff to them. Now, if they're looking, for certain sound numbers, then that's, where technical service get in and talk to you. Okay, you don't want to use this product. You want to go up to this one because you're looking for this number. But yes, we definitely can help with our Bostik Academy.
Great question.
Great. I think that's all the questions.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you so much for having us. We appreciate everyone's time and coming to watch this presentation. And again, if you have any other questions or want to learn more, please check out our Bostik Academy.
Thanks so much, guys. And I'll just remind everyone who's watching that you will be getting an email with this presentation too. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.